Okay, open your eyes. So this last practice, last method is very popular among the Taoists who actually learned it from Buddha, who actually learned, kind of invented their own way in the interpretation of what they learned from Bodhidharma, who was a North Indian yogi visiting China in the, I believe it was 14th century, and taught them meditation. And the idea of the technique is that as you get good in the abdominal breathing, you're actually exercising the diaphragm, so you're actually moving your intestines. And the intestines are piezoelectric, so you're actually generating static electricities. And remember when we do the exercise, as I keep one hand stationary, separate the left brain from the right brain, because between them there is something called the longitudinal fissure, something like that. It's a gap that many scientists believe that it is actually the resonance chamber, electromagnetic resonance chamber. So as you generate these static electricities, and then you slowly guide it up your spine, which is very conductive, then you're creating this electrical energy, electromagnetic energy, all the way around, all the way around. That's why the tongue, okay? So that's why you have to provide that conductive path. So this is a very popular technique among the Taoists. I find it to be a good warm-up exercise. I only do it as a warm-up, and we don't have time to do more, but in the morning, this morning we spent 2 hours, and we actually touch on another way of meditating. But anyway, so I noticed that someone commented about like idea of letting the negative energy settle. Somebody that I care a great deal about actually told me how she managed to deal with her depression or anxiety anyway, is that every time she thinks she takes a glass of water, she will let it sit before she takes a drink. Just imagining the debris falling down to the bottom of the glass before she drinks it. It's her practice. Okay? So fundamentally, this is what we believe, that everything has causality. In other words, in order for something to happen, there has to be a precondition, right? So in order for you to go to the garden to pick tomatoes, you must have planted it at some time, right? Or if it's wild, somebody had planted it. So the idea of seed and fruit is obvious, okay? So when something bad happened to you, it happened for a reason. Maybe it's something that you did, maybe it's something that somebody else did, maybe that is something that someone did and you reacted in a bad way, or even in spite of your best efforts, it still happened to you. But there's always a causality. There's a seed and then there is a fruit. But between the seed and the fruit, there is something else, right? Just because you planted the tomato doesn't necessarily mean that you will get the tomato, right? There's something called effort. You need to provide the conditions. So we can't control what happened to us, or there are a lot of things that just can't control. But what we can control is the condition, right? So when you have a bad thought, when you have a depression or what, the only thing you can control is do you get hit once or twice, right? It's Josh likes to talk about the arrow, right? If somebody shoots your arrow, it hurts, but do you have to keep repeating the arrow? Do you have to now take out the arrow and keep stabbing yourself after the person who hurt you is already gone? So that's a condition that you can control, but that's not easy. That takes a lot of skill. So part of what we do here, even though we spend so much time on the body, because having a healthy body is a good foundation, right? You have to really develop this sense of love for yourself. And it's hard to love something that is not whole. And so once you understand that there's so much of you to be loved, you will start to care about yourself first. So that's number one. You really gotta care. So when we do this embrace, and a lot of times I said, just embrace yourself, right? This is very important. So you gotta do that first. So having a healthy body, a robust set of body is very important in the first step towards self-healing. But beyond that, you need a lot of skill. And part of the skill And I have never really talked about this here, just because we never had enough time, or the other reason is that we haven't been together long enough. Is that you have to develop this tool that is like the early indicator. It's like the canary in the in the mine, right? You have to have this early indicator. So people talk, and I know some of you, I'm sure, have heard about something called emotional intelligence. I'm sure you have, especially for a company like Google. That's all they talk about. But what they don't talk about is the meaning of the word intelligence. Intelligence have two meanings. It means being intelligent. It also means getting intelligence. The Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, interpret intelligence as data, right? As information. So where is the intelligence into your own emotion? So if you feel depressed, or you feel anything that, it's not a feeling that you like, where is the precursor? Where is the early indicator, so that you don't follow? It's your breath and your body. That's what we train ourselves to do. So here's how I live my day. This is how I care for my father and my mom. Is that when I'm in front of them, I focus on my breath. I don't dare to focus on anything else, because they need my help. Most of it is emotional help, and they are already at the bottom of the pit. So if I'm not careful with my own emotion, then I'm trying to help them by jumping into the pit. That helps nobody. So how do I prevent myself from jumping into the pit if I didn't have any kind of intelligence into my emotion? So my mind relies on my body. So I'm after practicing, anytime there's something come up in my emotional state, the first thing that happens is my breath changes, or my body changes. I say, "Ooh, something happens. So let me just stay away from that." Right? So, but that's down the line. That's down the line. You don't have that yet, but I'm hoping that in time you will get that. But at least for now, you know, this is a good distraction. This is a good distraction. Working on your body is a good distraction, and then you just work towards that. Okay? I hope that answered your question.